Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Solution Sunday, because being the soul you are is the solution. We are grand beings of light here in physical form. Today, I am here with a grand being of light who is one of my very most favorite people on the entire planet. Trish Schmalhofer is just a healer extraordinaire. I think of her as a shaman. She is the creator of Badass Alchemists and Mystics, a community in Florida. She is an incredible sound healer, incredible body worker, and an Akashic Records reader. And today we thought we would go on a magical mystery tour of the Akashic Records and beyond. Trish, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being on your show. And yes, it's the Akashic Records and beyond. I do feel like sometimes I am on the Star Trek Enterprise, like discovering new life forms and new ideas and sharing wisdom. So it's been fun. Thank you for all those wonderful introductions, and I received that. I'm in a place now where I can say thank you, and I received that. So I think, like, talking about the Akashic Records, some people are like, the what records? Never heard of that. But a lot of people, and probably most that tune into your show, at least have heard it, or maybe have worked with someone that can access their records, or they may have accessed their own. So it started with an ancient term of Akasha or Akasha. That's where it comes from, and we'll dip into what that really means.
Well,
And then records really is defined as a place that stores the memory of all things, thoughts and feelings, experiences, past life, present life, even future. And we all have our own record. It's that has our soul story, our soul history. And we can access that at any time. You just have to know how. It's kind of like you have to know the secret code to get in. And a lot of that's just right here in intention, because you can find your record because you resonate to your own soul. So even just doing a meditation and a breath, and you can go within to your core essence, that center of who you are. And even if you're not sure if you're there, just know you're there. And then ask to go to the records, to your record. You can read your own. Now, reading other people's, there's, some permission that needs to happen with that. But you can also look at the records in reference to the planet's history. You can even extend into cosmic history. So there's a lot that you can find there. How I was taught to read the records is by Andrea Hess, and it's called Soul Realignment. And she explains it as an information highway. It's energy that's moving. And unlike the density that we're in, and I got this vision of like the internet, it's just moving information. So in that modality, she teaches us to use a pendulum and ask very specific questions and get our frame of reference. Because it's like, if you're searching something on Google, on the computer, and you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to get all kinds of information. You might go down a rabbit hole over here, right? But if you have clear what you are looking for and using that languaging, you can go and find it. And it's very energetic. And anyone can read their own record in the way that they sense energy. So someone may get very direct answers to their questions and hear it, or they might just feel sensations in their belly, or they might see colors. So just whatever way you usually perceive these subtle energies or vibrations, then that's how you'll probably access it through your record. And that will grow and change as you work with the records. You'll start to actually perceive in a more expansive, deep way It just naturally happens when you're working in the Akasha. So that's the Akashic records.
That's so cool. So, do most people want to access the Akashic records because they're having trouble in their life and they're trying to figure out like where it comes from and how to get over it? Or are they looking for soul purpose? Or is it just a whole conglomeration of many different reasons why you would want to access your records?
Yeah. I think all of the above, and it depends on the person. And usually, if they start seeking information in these more etheric realms, then they're having a sense that, okay, there's another root cause of what's happening here. Or some of them will come in, it's like, I've done everything for this physical thing, or I've had a series of really bad marriages, or I've just had a life that's had a lot of, despair or conflict, and I'm not really sure. Maybe there's a past life thing. The whole past life regression movement through the kind of the new age movement was really big for a while.
Mhm.
And that's a little different than an Akashic Records reading. Like, that's past life regression. That's actually going back through the timeline and re-experiencing. Where reading it this way is more, where's the glitch? Where's the block? And then what's the basic story of why this decision was made and upheld in the lifetime? So a little soul story. But we don't get into you lived in Paris and you were a mother of 5 and your name was this. I mean, you can do past life stuff that way to learn lessons and make connections. You mentioned soul purpose though, and that is I'd say probably in the top reasons why people want to get an Akashic Records reading. They just want to see if they're living in their divine purpose. And part of the reading I do is we look at the soul gift or gifts, the primary and secondary, and we have all of the gifts of God, of the universe, but we usually have one or two that's largely in our soul blueprint. Usually one or two that's more than half of the energy of who we are. So for someone to find out what their soul gift is or gifts, and then also a soul group of origination, so where the soul first incarnated, first embodied,
Mm.
and those qualities are fresh and pure, because the soul's like this. I see things animated, this new soul created, and they're like scanning the multiverse.
Yep.
And it's like, that's my people. And you go there and you embody or you incarnate in whatever form that
Mhm.
star system or planet or parallel universe or wherever. And you start having experiences. So looking at those qualities of that group, because it's those qualities are also very resonant to you in your most pure divine form, in the pure soul blueprint. So
Uh,
soul purpose,
love-
sometimes people just finding out, oh, that's my gift. And then if I go into mentoring with them, we will look at that and say, how can you be utilizing these gifts all through your life? And
uh,
we do a lot of brainstorming and a lot of looking at how we do the life path now that we know, and then clear, how do we move forward living our best life?
I love that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do a lot of, well, recently I had an experience where I really kind of went back to the creation of my soul and saw the light. It was just, looking like a star in the heavens, like just a being of light. And I recognized the more I tuned into that, the more I recognized that that still exists. Like I still exist in that form. And there's like a subset, like I can focus my attention in any direction that I want, but like that is still the purity and essence of who I am as a soul.
Yes, exactly. And that pure essence of light of a soul that you perceived yourself as, it comes into, it embodies. If it chooses to come to earth, like Lisa's soul's like, I think I'm gonna go to earth and have some really deep learning experiences. Because
Right.
that's why we're here.
Right.
To have fun. We're here to enjoy. Also, there's a lot of beauty on this planet.
Yes,
But
there is.
you go, so how, this is my view of it. This doesn't mean this is how it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, as that embodiment happens and the drop into the deeper densities, there's more individualization and more like compression. And then that part of that soul that has gotten to that deep density goes into the human body, and then phew, there's a alchemy, the creation of life.
Mhm.
So it's just, and then you have those experiences. And then how I'm seeing it is, as we are having experiences, we are aspects of the divine, of source, into this form. We're having experiences so source can experience itself. It's like going back into the matrix, or now I'm seeing maybe even the Akasha, the substance, the ethereal substance fluid that retains memory of all things. It would make sense that's where it goes. Those experiences are where the growing and the learning and the value of embodying, of why we're even here. Sometimes, how many of us have said, why did I choose to come here?
I know, right?
What's my purpose here?
Yeah.
And that purpose can shift throughout the life cycle
Mhm.
and change as we grow and change and have more access to that light, that soul part of us. Our purpose starts getting more clear. In a way, it gets more narrow,
Mm.
but also it almost opens up here, and then the path gets a little more focused. And so some people can feel like they have a change of purpose, where it's really just a more deeper feeling of it, or a more expansive access to it.
Yeah,
That's consciousness, baby. That's bringing in the light.
that's it, right? Oh my goodness. I struggled for so many years trying to figure out what what was my purpose? Why would I ever have come to this prison planet, that is like
That was your perception then. Yeah, that was your
exactly.
experience.
It's
Exactly.
like, wow, it's like this planet doesn't live in harmony with the universal laws. Like this planet is like inverted. It's like the opposite. Like, and so I could never figure out in opposite land, like, where do I fit in? But then once I got to a point, it was like, oh, I don't fit in. That's why I'm here. I'm not supposed to fit in. I'm supposed to just be the grand being of light to bring harmony back to the planet. Oh, now I see.
Your purpose. Exactly. And then you get to pick and choose how you do that purpose in this world. And that's the free will.
Right.
You get to pick which piece of your tapestry or your life map or puzzle or movie or whatever you want to call it that you want in there. But you're still doing that flow of purpose and
Yeah.
having the experiences through your choices. And so it's that mirroring. It's that what you're putting out is going out there and then coming back. It's a constant communication of your creation, of your choices. And if you're seeing in front of you your choices and experiences aren't where you want to be at this current time, then you can start working on bringing in that consciousness and light, and accessing that soul part of you, and saying, then how do I want to change this? Not having that victim mentality. Although if someone has had a lot of life situations, if they chose to come into a situation that is very dense, that's very tough in the physical realm in a lot of ways, you know, that's when, and it seems to have carried into their life, we can slip into victimization because it just feels like nothing is working. We're heavy. And it's a lot of times doing a soul realignment reading, we can see why that's happening. And then maybe even linking to other timelines or other lifetimes where that same choice was made, or a contract was made, or an agreement, or something. It could be a whole bunch of things that is now affecting the soul's energy coming in. It almost causes, if we look at the computer terminology, I see it's like a blueprint or like a program, and we put glitches in there. Lines, because we made that choice 10 lifetimes ago against our free will, where we were victimized, you know, we had that resonance. And so that's imprinted in the blueprint. We did that. We did it. We corrupted our own file because we didn't see any other choice to manifest something different.
Right.
And sometimes it's a present life pattern. And then we can go through this history. It's all stories. It's our stories. And why did I choose that? And how can I reframe that and then make a different choice that's more empowered? It's more from that core, and then trusting our choices, which is the ultimate goal, is trust ourselves.
Exactly. Trust ourselves, trust source, trust the universe, and you know, trust the energies. When we learn how to use the energies and the frequencies and bring our own frequencies into coherence, then we can start trusting ourselves and trusting the universe, because ask and it is given is universal law. But we have been given all kinds of crap, and then we're like, I don't know why this happened, I don't know why that happened. And then we find out, well, I've been vibrating these things out and the universe has been giving back. It's like, I have to change my vibration. I have to change the sound. I have to change the words that I'm speaking and the energies I'm emitting. And then my reality will change.
And if someone is, there's a soul gift that's very in the physical, adding a movement, you know, to the sound, to the frequency. So like you could even, that's where mudras came from. Hand positions, or there's gestures, or if you look at Qigong and Tai Chi, they're moving the Qi with an intent. And even having fun with that. Like, hey, I want to create, I don't know, more clients coming in, or I want to create a new house or a new job or a career that I'm having my soul purpose fulfilled and I'm getting lots of money in, you know, return. What's the movement of that? Like, get into that resonance, and what we've put our attention on, we give power to. So having even a whole practice of, okay, to me, that looks like, you know, like, or it could be birds flying, you know, like freedom. So, you know, you can have fun with manifestation. You can have fun with creating your best life and resonating. I've been playing with this in my own life. The more I resonate to my own beloved frequency, like loving myself frequency, and that's what I expect to see in the world. Like, I am being the change I want to see, and not even the change. I am being what I want to see. And it is amazing to me, if I am staying focused on that and just being me, I am meeting wonderful people, like, that are filled with light and soul. And it's almost like, that's what I'm putting into the Akasha, to the ethers.
Right? I love that, because it really does boil right down to, who am I being? It's like the only thing we have any control over is ourselves and our own state of being. And we actually have complete control over our own state of being. We can choose to be happy, we can choose to be sad, we can choose to be depressed, we can choose, you know, once we understand that we can change our state of being at will. Like, we don't have to stay depressed. We don't have to stay afraid. We don't have to stay in fear or doubt or guilt or shame or blame. We can literally start clearing those things out, and we can start to raise our frequency so we can start singing a better song, so that what the song we are singing literally matters. It turns into physical matter.
Does. And I just I've come across a lot of people that have been on their path for a long time, like their healing path. They've gotten a lot of gain, like they feel like their consciousness is at this great place, but there's something that's keeping them from and it does get easier the more you practice to just shift the mindset. It does get easier. If someone is new on their path, or if they've been on their path for a while but are at this kind of like big boulder, like, what is this? I can't just wish this away. Like, this wants to be looked at. And so that's when we would do a deeper dive. And sometimes we have to sink into the feeling. Like, you feel like crap today, or you do feel like a little depressed, or you feel like you're a little off. And sometimes if it is a boulder, or if it is kind of like this block that the normal means doesn't get us around, and we've tried meditating, and we've tried reframing, and we've tried, getting a massage, we tried somato emotional release or whatever, a sound bath, it's okay to spend a little bit of time with it and get to the root of it, because maybe there's just something underneath there that's holding you back. And it's usually just one little root that has all these little branches, and it feels big, but sometimes you have to just sit with it and work with it tenderly, maybe one little thread at a time. But you're still that intention of bringing in the light, getting the clarity, health and vibrance. This is what I'm aiming for. And so sometimes the path's a little slower, or sometimes it's really fast and you're like, oh my God, can I handle this?
Right.
And sometimes it slows down, and then there's a part of us that's like, I should be past this.
Oh yeah, right. The self-judgment, like, ooh.
Yeah. And it's like, what? Maybe you just kept getting that curiosity and that open-mindedness, that maybe you just don't have the resource to get through this one, or what's in here. Maybe it's not awake or open yet inside, and you need to seek out to open it here or attune it here. We're remembering these things. That, to me, that's what consciousness is. We're remembering our true nature, our true selves, which is that soul self that's in this beautiful, I always have to give a shout out to the body because I'm a
Right.
body, but this precious body is evolving with us.
Yeah.
It's not being left behind, and so is the planet, by the way. So
Yeah.
as we're getting more consciousness and reaching these subtler realms, and we're becoming less dense and more light filled, even in here, the planet is as well. And we're doing it together.
Yeah.
I could go into another thing. Do you want to say anything?
Go with the flow.
You had talked about, your perception of growing up in the prison, and that was your reality. That was your feeling. And, we go out in life and we see these outer structures. And I see that as our collective dream. That's the human dream. That's all of our essences and songs going out into our world. It could be our neighborhood, it could be our state, our country, our planet. And so sometimes the dream out there is like, that's not really what's going on in here. And, I think that's the key with, accessing your record, looking at your whole self, looking at all your multidimensional self, including the physical, and then doing you, because we're all a thread in that tapestry of that collective. And this is the whole unified field theory, is that if I make the change, if I'm being authentically me, and I'm bringing in my light, and I'm working through my blocks, belief patterns, physical symptoms, mind meditating and getting the mind in the observer, if I'm doing all that, I am helping the collective dream. And then when I go out in the world and I'm being me, it may turn on a little or attune someone else or help them remember. And then the collective dream starts to change. So a lot of us are aware of the not so nice things in the collective that hurts us. It resonates very dissonance, and it makes us even question, am I even supposed to be on this planet? But yes, the answer is yes. If you are here, you're meant to be here, and you came here to do exactly what we're talking about, which is do you and bring that light in and that awareness and that consciousness, and reach out for help if you get stuck and you aren't able to get past it in the ways that you normally can. So that's where people like Lisa and I come in. Like, that's what we do for a living. Like, we love it. We love facilitating people's own healing and empowering them to like do this.
Exactly. That's why we were both in the Inside Effects, the movie and the book, to really start spreading that word that, healing comes from the inside. It doesn't come from pills. And, the stories that we've been told about our bodies and what's going on, they're not always true. And that, we have the power right within to facilitate our own healing. And it's quite magical when we tap into that power and we start to, at least it was for me when I went through my story of, facing cancer and freaking out and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And this is the worst thing ever, and blah, blah, blah. And then looking at what the medical route offered, and I was like, yeah, that doesn't really look too appealing to me, because what I saw was that they offered remission. I was like, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like it's coming back again. And like, I don't want this ever coming back again. Like, I want full on healing here, people. Like, and that's not what they were offering. So I decided to go my own route. And, when I learned how to really tap in, it was like, all of a sudden I was able to see through a completely different set of eyes. It was like I was seeing through the eyes of my higher self, my soul, whatever you want to call it. And it was like I saw completely different pictures. Like, hey, Lisa, your body's not being attacked by cancer. Your body's responding to your emotional state. Your body's functioning perfectly. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. And it's like, it's these shifts of consciousness that are so key, so important for us. And I know that that's why you and I are both here, is to really help open the realms of consciousness for
That's
humanity.
Right. It's almost like we get a new set of eyes with each, awakening or spiritual awakening or connection. It's a deeper connection, and it's a more expansive. It's both. And the highest self and the soul, and that's you.
Yep.
That is the biggest ally, is that higher dimensional part of you that sees with totally different eyes than you.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's almost like we change the lens and it gets more complex.
Exactly. It's like I talk about it like the Russian stacking dolls.
Yeah.
It's like the physical self is like the littlest one in the middle. It has the least amount of information. It's the smallest version. It's in the dark more. And then every time you have an expansion of consciousness, it's like, oh, I know more now. And it's like you keep moving out these doll after doll, and you have more and more and more awareness, until you're out in these bigger dolls, which are looking back in, which have completely different levels of awareness and are completely connected to source, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, the universal wisdom. And you start sourcing from that wisdom. You start, instead of trying to look at the world as the source of your well-being, or as money as the source of your well-being, or a job, or a partner, you start looking at source itself. And it's like, oh, this is completely different. I'm always provided for. I'm always cared about. Ask and it is given is universal law. Like, oh, I could just ask and it could just be really easy. And I was like, oh, wow. When my life started just getting easy and just synchronicities started happening, I was like, oh, this is way more fun. And this is way simpler than we've been taught.
That's right. And the nesting dolls, that's how I see it too. All of it's kind of compressed in the space, but it gets less dense. But that's all you.
Yes,
That's aspects of you.
exactly.
Yeah. So that's just keep moving forward. Like everybody, just keep deepening within yourself, connecting in with whatever source is for you. And nature does it for me. I don't know. Nature gets it. Nature understands, these etheric realms. And,
Mhm.
talking about the Akasha or the Akasha, where the records live. And some people see the records as a library too, by the way. That's a common thing, a visualization of going through the library. Our mind can go and find your book. And all right, I'm jumping. Hang on, let me go back to what I was saying. What was I talking about? My brain sometimes does that. It shoots the Akasha
Yes,
or the See, when you start accessing these flows of energy, sometimes multiple come in at the same time.
exactly.
The Akasha is really what connects all of us, I think, because it is the space in between matter. And they say it's like an etheric fluid or an atmosphere, an ether. And that's a part of us, but that also, as we extend out, everything's connected and communicating. And so when you're doing your self-healing, so bringing it back to the Akashic records, if you're doing your own self-healing, as you said, Lisa, like even with your symptoms, and you're like, no, I don't want remission, I want total healing, you went with source, you access those higher parts that understands this is all you, and the healing takes place in all of these areas.
Yeah.
And then the physical is usually where we are in attention, is like we get the pain or we get the stuff, and that gets our attention, that talks the loudest.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and you can also, whether you technically access the records or just maybe you just need to ask, even including that in your healing, that maybe somewhere out here in the nesting dolls is where the little glitch is, where the block is, where the dissonant wave is. And so including that, so expanding your awareness that you are so much more than even, we say mind, body, spirit, but I'm like, and every other part of us we don't even have a name for yet.
All right.
All included in our healing.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we have one physical body and many, many, many non-physical bodies.
Yeah.
And we have to start understanding that what's going on in the non-physical bodies is informing the physical body. What's going on in our thoughts, feelings, and emotions is forming the physical structure. So the physical body is never the problem. It's always what's going on in the non-physical bodies, in our thought patterns and in our energy field. Are we in fear? What are we in fear of? Are we in guilt or shame or doubt? Those dim our light, and then we start living as less than. It's like, we're grand beings of light, and when our light is shining, there is nothing wrong with us. when we shut that light down, or it gets shut down for us, it's like, oh, it's a completely different deal.
Mhm. Yeah, and awareness of where we're at in all of that process, awareness, that conscious awareness of knowing, like, it's a lot of times it goes back to fear. Like, even if you have a muscle pain, like, say, like, I'm a massage therapist and someone just has a sore muscle, they worked out hard and they have a sore muscle, or they have a kink in their neck. Sometimes it does seem the solution is, oh, let's work that trigger point and relax that muscle and drink some water and do some stretching. And look at that. You got a good night's sleep and your body healed it. Your body unwound it. But underneath that tension, there's tension, there's stress being held. So stress, how we perceive stress, a lot of times when there is a physical issue, it's, why are we perceiving these waves of energy that are always there and are always going to be there as something that's affecting us, and usually it is a fear or some emotion or belief pattern that we, are telling ourselves. Or maybe that day they were a little off center when they lifted their weights or worked out, but why are they off center? You can, like, go, it's like a puzzle. It's like, but it's your puzzle. It's your unique puzzle, your unique story. And it's well worth the time and the energy to get to know you and listen, practice listening and connecting to all those parts.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love how you personally can address so many of these different puzzle pieces. The physical body, the sound, the Akashic records. There's so many of these things that you do. You're so multi-talented that you get to help people from so many different directions.
Thank you. I I think because, well, there's a lot of reasons, but mostly because I've been a seeker my whole life. I love knowledge and I love having different experiences. And so it's my own healing journey ultimately that's led me into all of these ways that I can help people. And just fascinated with the multidimensionality. And I mean, we could even, there's a whole nother topic we could have about the microverse going within, and that's fun too. Like,
Right?
that there's all kinds of things we don't know, and we may never know. We may never know it in our brain, but there's a part of us that does know. And
Mm.
I always think it's more in the heart space where, and trusting that you do know, even if you didn't read it in a book somewhere, you know what's best for you. And Lisa, I got to plug in my computer because it's going to go. Hang
Oh,
on.
what's that?
Well, I don't know because I'll have to get up and move. So we may have
Oh,
to.
that's okay. Here, we shall just pause our recording for a moment. Yay, problem solved.
um, so, so let's talk. I feel I shared, I think the only thing I didn't share about the Akasha or Akasha, I kind of like Akasha. I hear it called that. It's the fifth element. We have earth, fire, water, and air. And some cultures have other elements, but ultimately then we have ether or spirit, some cultures call it, but it's that etheric watery substance that is the space that where matter can be formed, and it holds everything.
Yeah.
There's actually even parts to the Akasha. There's different aspects to it. It's a very complex element, and it wouldn't surprise me if that element then is part of an even more complex elements and a more complex element.
Yeah.
But it is kind of it has a very fluid and high energy feel to it. So when you are accessing your record, it's like you kind of know you're there when you're feeling that kind of spacey, fluidy, a lot happening, but yet very calming too.
Mhm.
Very interesting realm.
Yeah, I see these well, the etheric realm I see in terms of electromagnetic energy. I don't know why I can see it, but I can see it. And I can see how the thoughts are electrical, so there are electrical currents that run through, and these are thought patterns. And then the emotions, energy in motion, is magnetic. So how the thoughts and the emotions run together determines how the matter is formed. So,
That makes sense to me.
yay, I love making sense.
No, because I just experienced like a biomagnetic, it was a virtual session, and and it made me very aware of the magnetic field in the body has this very flowy feel to it. And because I can feel inside my body very easily, so I could feel the magnets like moving things. And I noted, I'm like, this is different than the electrical part of the human body, which is like what you're saying. And so that's interesting how of course, the electricals, the thoughts, and of course, the emotions are the magnetic. Makes sense.
Right? So how the emotional body and the mental body are aligned with the angelic body, or the I am body, whatever you want to call it, the soul. How those two bodies are aligned determines how the physical body is. So if the mental body is thinking thoughts of, like, I'm not okay, what's wrong with me, then the emotional body is going to have feelings of fear or doubt or guilt. And then it kind of distorts how the physical body shows up, because those electromagnetics are wonky. They're not in alignment with the truth of the ground beings of light that we are.
It's almost like, because then I'm thinking yin and yang. It's like the electrical's more the yang. It's very straight. The magnetics like working around the thought. The
Mhm.
emotions play with the thought, dance around the thought, like the masculine and feminine. That's cool. And then the magnetic is the earth connection, right? Like, is that the magnetic
and
field?
it's like and it's like what draws the molecules together. It's like what pulls the ether into a form.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like the masculine energy is like the structure and the straight lines and the form, and the feminine energy is like the swirls and the oh, wouldn't that be cool if we could do this? And then the masculine energy goes, oh, I can build that for you. Here's how you can do that. And it's like this beautiful dance.
It really is a dance, and it's beautiful. And it's a song, it's a symphony, going back to sound. And now I've been diving into the science of sound a little more.
Mm.
And so now with this awareness of this magnetic and this electrical dancing, and I'm just wondering how that plays out in sound, because I know it does. Because all of that influences the sound wave. It's all waves of frequency, just different types, different resonances,
Well,
different strength.
yeah, like one of the ways that I use sound to clear my field is like, I go to the symphony every Sunday night in the summer, and I close my eyes and I just hear the sound and I feel the vibration of the sound, and I'm tune into all the molecules of my body, and I consciously use the sound patterns to bring coherence to the molecules. So it's just like fine tuning my own electromagnetic field.
Exactly. Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah. And I know, yes, listening to sound and feeling sound, like feeling the sound, and then even directing the sound, like
Yeah,
talked about like manifesting. You can do that in your body too. That's like that's healing the physical is doing that manifestation in here. So if you're seeing the sound and you're seeing it, imagining it, like you said, like
mhm.
harmonizing, bringing coherence, it is so.
Exactly. Yes.
And so I just love this because this is little breadcrumbs for me to now follow in my knowledge. Love of knowledge is, and wisdom is, if the Akasha and Akasha is ether, and they say that sound is the language of the ether. That's like what the ancients said.
Mhm.
um I'm gonna really contemplate this and have fun with this and how that actually, and then what you just shared, it's just beautiful. And this is part of my path. This is why I do help people access all of these different ways, because this is, I like to explore and I like to learn. And when then I learn it for myself, when I have a client, um, especially I do a 3-month mentorship where we can really do a deep dive. I have access to all of these resources because I've utilized them for myself. And then I can match my client, like, where are you? What's your resonance? And then here, let's try this one. Does this feel right? How about this way? And
So do you use all the different modalities with your clients as needed? Like, so if one client comes, maybe they do a sound bath one time, maybe they do an Akashic record reading a different time, maybe they do some craniosacral or massage another time.
yes, I start my 3-month with the soul realignment reading. That's my starting point.
Hmm.
Um, and then we jump off from there, because that gives me what's your soul blueprint, like Lisa's bright light, like what's the, looking at the main resonance of that. And then of course there's all intricate details that we explore, but yeah. So but in that 3 months, it depends if it's virtual or in person too, but I do
Right,
virtual, I can do body work virtually, sound baths virtually.
right.
um, I do a therapy called systems informed body mind therapy, and I can do that virtually. It's like mindfulness and working with the patterns of our life as a constellation, and so looking at all contributing factors to what's coming up in your life. And yeah, and then but it's specialized because it's for you. And yeah, the jumping off points, the Akashic records work.
Uh, I love that. You know, I've had a few different Akashic records readings in my life, and one of them really, really stood out, and something that she had told me every once in a while, it just like pops into my awareness. I'm like, oh, yep, I see that I'm on this path to that thing that she had said. And it was just really profound.
Reading the records, or anyone that does spiritual advising or psychic readings or mediumship, you want to remember that we're humans reading energy.
Mhm.
Like, all of those people are humans reading energy. And they're going to be interpreting the energy, and and some are really good at looking at possible future outcomes, but that's fuzzy. Like, anyone that's like, this is going to happen on this date,
Yeah,
if this is going to happen on this date, it's like, I don't know if future works that way. Maybe mark that date on your calendar, but don't just try. You can change that, like there's multiple choices ahead of that.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, just remember, anyone that's doing advising is reading energy, but ultimately we have to decide if what we're hearing Like that one records reading stood out because she was reading the energy. You perceived it as, she knows what she's doing, and that's resonating.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And the other two might have had a little nugget or two, but yeah, we also vibrate with other people too. You have to find your match of who who resonates with you to work with you in that way.
I love that. So so are you still, is your community center still going? The BAM?
Yes, it is. And it's right now I have a brick and mortar that's thriving, and I have several facilitators in all different areas working out of there. It's just beautiful. And I do a lot of virtual Facebook. Badasses, Alchemists, Mystics, BAM. I do live readings on there with cards. I do wisdom shares. I'm starting a Telegram channel for more deeper dives with advising, a spiritual advising, life advising. And BAM, my new love that's happening is a sound studio.
Ooh,
It's going to be an open space where we can do sound baths, we can do sound performances and jams, maybe even capture some on video, maybe even have an artist over here painting while we're playing, or someone dancing over here, or it's been an idea for a while, and Badasses, Alchemists, Mystics create. That's what we do. We're creating in the world in our resonance, whatever your badassery is, getting people together in this organic space and creating sound in all its forms, not even just music, and making a vortex, a symphony of light. And it will never be the same again. It's a unique experience that, sure, we can try to capture on video to try to bring people there, but the fact of this kind of the randomness of it, that beauty can come out of it when people are in that flow. That's BAM's heading that way.
I love that. So if there are people that are in Florida that want to find you at BAM, how do they find BAM?
BAM's in Palm Bay, Florida. And the website's BAM community11.com. And that's a good way to get to me. And I also, Med Healers is a good website too for my healing modalities, more about me. BAM's kind of a collective group, is medhealers.com. So if you're interested in the Akashic Records work, or a mentorship, or even just an hour, intense reading, I do clarity calls. So you can go on my website and fill out the form and ask for a clarity call, and we'll meet, and I can decide which gateway in is the best one for you.
Beautiful. I highly recommend Trisha's work. If any of you are even thinking about reaching out to her, please follow that thought and do reach out, because she's a very gifted healer, and she is a shaman and just a wise woman extraordinaire. She came here and visited me in person and did some beautiful hands-on healing work with a hip injury that I've had, and it was really profound. And I'm a very big fan of Trisha and all that she has to share. So please feel free to reach out. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, just look in the show notes and I will have the web links there for you. And please feel free to reach out.
What do you have going on, Lisa? Let's tell us about what you have going on.
Right now, I just started a new 12-week session of my course called Aligning with Your Radiantly Healthy Self. So I have a small group. It's really like a mastermind group. Like it's a real intense 12-week deep dive that creates a lot of transformation. And it's like my pride and joy. I love it beyond anything. This is September 6th, 2023. We still have a few openings. So if you are interested and you're hearing this even a few days after that, please feel free to reach out if this is calling to you, because I can fit a couple more in.
And even if they see this a few months from now, you run this class, you run this pretty frequently,
I
don't
run
you?
it at least twice a year.
Yeah, so they might be able to catch the next one.
Yep, in the spring of 2024. Yes.
You help so many people heal themselves. You are such a light in the world. I see that shining star that your soul is when I look at you. So just thank you for walking your path and being on this planet at this time, because you're doing it. You're helping things shift into a higher consciousness and helping others do it. So thank you.
Right? We are all these grand beings of light, and we are here to bring light to this planet, to
All
bring
are.
peace and harmony back to Earth so that,
That's right.
right? So that life can be enjoyed by
It's
all.
why we're here, to enjoy this beautiful planet, this beautiful body. And just every single one of you watching is that grand being of light. And we just want to help you remember that.
Exactly. And the first step really in that is to come back in harmony with our bodies. We have been taught to distrust our bodies. We have been taught that they're not pretty enough, they're not tall enough, they're not slender enough. We have been taught to dislike our bodies and distrust our bodies. And this is not why we're here with these bodies. These bodies are really our best friends.
Yep. And it talks to us. So learning the language.
Exactly. And it's not the language they tell us. The language
No, it's
is not
definitely not.
your body's broken, there's something wrong with it. That is not the language.
Exactly how to heal itself and exactly what order. It's the inner physician, inner healer. It's the inner us.
Yes. And
Thank
one of
you.
the great ways to find out about that, if you're interested, is check out The Inside Effects. Is both a book and a film. If you go to theinsideeffects.com, you'll be able to watch the film for free if you've not yet seen that. I am in the film. Trisha is in the book. Please reach out, and it's just a good starting point. Excuse me, it's just a good starting point if you're not familiar with kind of how the body heals itself and what is actually possible. So
Yep. Check it out.
yes. So
Thank you.
thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Trisha. This has been such a fun conversation. I always love our conversations,
We'll
and
do it again soon.
yes, we will. So please, if you are looking for some guidance, some energy work, some healing, please reach out to Trisha. She is just a very, very bright light. And if you are wanting to reach out to me, you can find me at connectingyoutoyou.com. So thank you all for joining us for another Soulution Sunday, because being the soul, the grand being of light you are, is the solution. Thanks, everybody. Until next week, create for yourselves a great week.
Bye.